Hey.
Been almost 2 years since you were out on that field. Just how'd that feel running out the tunnel and being on that opening kickoff?
Yeah, it was pretty surreal. Like you said, it's almost exactly 2 years to the day. And it was definitely, it almost took me by surprise being out there on that kickoff. Everything felt faster than it used to. And definitely a little bit rusty. Got some work to do, but it was just fun to play football again.
Ben, just what has this 2 years been like for you? I mean, a lot of ups and downs, probably more of the latter than anything. Just kind of working through it to get back to this point.
Yeah, I mean, it was just taking it one day at a time. You're definitely right. There was a lot of ups and a lot of downs. And there was definitely some downs that felt like that might be it, and I wouldn't be playing ball again. And I definitely had those thoughts a lot of times. But it was just surrounding myself with the right group of people to support me and just chipping away day by day. And all of a sudden you wake up and you're back playing ball again.
Now that you are playing ball, how encouraged are you for whatever the next step is?
Yeah, I mean, today was just a small step, and I think there's a ton to work on. I felt rusty out there. I definitely gotta get back to work and clean some stuff up. But it was, it was a start, and I was able to play in an NFL game, and came out the other side and clean and healthy. And to be able to say that after all the work it took to get here is a big win in of itself. But it's just step one, and I got to keep improving and hopefully go out and have a better game next week.
What do you mean to be captain? Go out and do the coin flip?
Yeah, that was pretty special. Obviously, I haven't done anything like that since I was in college, so I had to make sure I checked with Pete, and me and Tyler went out there and make sure we didn't screw it up and say something wrong and not do what we want to do. But it was a special gesture from Pete, and it definitely meant a lot to me to get to go out there and do that.
Do you have to do anything differently now? Training, rehab, post-practice, post-game that you didn't have to do before this?
Oh yeah, I mean, just with the extent of the injury I had, there's always going to be stuff I have to deal with. So I definitely have to, spend extra time taping, rehab, and things like that. Just make sure I stay on top of everything, and that'll probably just be the nature of my career for as long as I play football. And that's just, the nature of the beast. When you play this game, you have an injury like that. There's always going to be things that that'll bother you down the road, and so we just got to stay on top of stuff and keep grinding. But like I said, I was able to go play a football game today and go play another next week and just keep stacking them.
At what point in the process did you think, okay, I know I can get back from this?
I mean, I think there was never a time I didn't think I would do it. There was just hard times, but from the moment I was hurt, I mean, I was in the ambulance leaving Lumen. There was never a thought that I wasn't going to be back here doing this. And that was kind of the through line throughout this entire process, was I was going to be back playing football, and I knew I wanted to do everything I could to make sure it was not only just playing football here with the Seahawks. Unfortunately, we were able to, stay in contact with Pete and everybody throughout this whole process. And, I was training out in Chicago with Nick Ballore this offseason. And we just reached a point where I was like, all right, let's tell them we're ready to come in and work out. And, that we told them, and they let me come in, and we worked out, and here we are.
Why Chicago?
It's just where our trainer's based at. Work with a guy named Bobby Tomasis, who was, probably one of the biggest driving forces in me getting back on the field. I linked up with him through Nick. Nick's worked with him for almost a decade now. And so I started working with him in the end of last year, and went out there and spent the summer in Chicago with him and Nick working. And it was kind of, not only just because you want to be in person with the trainer, but also it was good to have Nick as a kind of a pair of eyes who's, he's played with me, he's seen me, and to kind of have him be able to be almost an impartial person to be able to say, hey, you look good, this needs work, this isn't ready. And it kind of reached a point where Nick was saying, hey, man, like, you look like the guy I used to play with, you should go in and work out. And so that was kind of the whole thought process.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Awesome.